Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt invisible in a room full of people? Have you ever spoken yet felt unheard? Have you ever reached out only to be met with silence? If you have, then I want you to know you are not alone. I have been there too, and yes, it hurts. When someone ignores you, it feels like a sharp, invisible wound. It makes you question your worth, your presence, your voice. But today, I want you to shift your perspective. I want you to understand that when someone ignores you, it is not a reflection of your value, it is a sign. When someone ignores you, it can feel like a silent rejection, an unspoken dismissal of your presence, your thoughts, and your emotions. It stings in ways that words cannot always describe because being acknowledged is a fundamental human need. We seek connection, understanding, and a sense of belonging. And when that is denied, it creates an emotional wound that is difficult to heal. The pain of being ignored is not just about the absence of words or actions, it is about the message it conveys. The message that you are not important enough to be noticed. This feeling can lead to self doubt. It makes you question if you did something wrong, if you're not good enough, or if you lack something that others seem to have. The mind starts replaying interactions, looking for signs, trying to understand why someone would choose silence over acknowledgement. It can feel like a form of punishment, an invisible barrier between you and the people who matter to you. The weight of that silence can be overwhelming, making you feel small, insignificant, and isolated. But the pain of being ignored does not define who you are. It is not a measure of your value, nor does it determine your worth. The truth is, people's actions are often a reflection of their own internal struggles rather than an accurate assessment of your significance. Sometimes people ignore others because they are preoccupied with their own problems, emotionally unavailable, or unable to communicate effectively. It may have nothing to do with you, but when you are on the receiving end, it is easy to take it personally. We often tie our self-worth to how others treat us, believing that if someone values us, we must be worthy, and if they don't, we must be lacking. This perception is flawed because it places control of our self-esteem in the hands of others. True worth is intrinsic. It is not something that fluctuates based on how people respond to us. When someone ignores you does not mean you are unworthy of love, respect, or attention. It simply means that for whatever reason, they have chosen not to engage. Their choice does not diminish your value. Understanding this can be difficult, especially when the person ignoring you is someone you deeply care about. The mind craves answers, and the heart craves recognition, but sometimes neither is given. It is in these moments of silence that you must remind yourself that your value is not determined by how others treat you. The way someone else chooses to behave does not define who you are. Instead of internalizing their indifference as a reflection of your inadequacy, recognize that their actions are beyond your control. The pain of being ignored is real and it is valid, but it does not have to break you. It is possible to feel the hurt without letting it consume your sense of self. The key is to separate your worth from their actions and to remember that you are valuable even when others fail to see it. When someone ignores you, it can feel like rejection, but in reality, it is often a sign that you are evolving beyond certain relationships, environments, or situations. Growth is an inevitable part of life, and as you grow, your energy shifts, your mindset expands, and your perspective deepens. Not everyone will be able to keep pace with that transformation. Sometimes people distance themselves not because you lack something, but because you are changing in ways they cannot understand or accept. People are drawn to what is familiar and comfortable. When you begin to grow beyond the roles they have assigned to you, it can make them uncomfortable. They may ignore you because they do not know how to relate to the person you are becoming. This shift is a sign that you are outgrowing spaces that no longer nurture your progress. It is a natural, though sometimes painful, process of life. Friendships, relationships, and social circles that once felt like home may start feeling distant. The conversations that once flowed easily may begin to feel forced. The attention that once felt abundant may start to fade. This does not mean there is something wrong with you. It simply means that you are moving in a different direction. The path of personal growth is not always one that allows everyone to walk alongside you. Some people prefer to stay in the comfort of familiarity, while you are being called to step into new opportunities, new perspectives, and a new version of yourself. The discomfort of being ignored is a sign that you are in the process of transformation, shedding the parts of your life that no longer align with who you are becoming. When this happens, it is important to recognize that not everyone is meant to be part of your journey forever. Some people enter your life to teach you lessons, to accompany you for a season, and to help you discover aspects of yourself that you might not have otherwise seen. However, as you continue to evolve, some relationships will naturally fade. It is not necessarily a loss. It is a sign that you are making room for new connections that resonate with the person you are becoming. Being ignored can feel like abandonment, but it can also be an indication that you are stepping into a different phase of life. The relationships and environments that no longer serve you will start to fall away, creating space for people who truly see and appreciate you for who you are. It is a reminder that growth sometimes requires letting go of the past, even when it is painful. This shift can be lonely, but it is also an opportunity. It allows you to reflect on where you are headed and who you want to become. Instead of seeing it as rejection, view it as a natural progression. Life is making space for you to align with people, opportunities, and experiences that match your evolving self. The discomfort is temporary, but the growth is permanent. Validation is something we all seek, whether consciously or unconsciously. From a young age, we are conditioned to look for approval, whether from our parents, teachers, friends, or society. It feels good to be acknowledged, to be seen, to be heard. However, when we tie our worth to the recognition we receive from others, we give away our power. We start measuring our value based on how people treat us, how they respond to us, and whether they make us feel important. This is where the real problem begins, because when that validation is withheld, ignored, or taken away, we begin to question ourselves. When someone ignores you, it can trigger a deep sense of self-doubt. Thoughts begin to flood the mind. Was it something I said? Did I do something wrong? Am I not good enough? These questions stem from the idea that our worth is dependent on how others perceive us. But the truth is, validation from others is fleeting. It is inconsistent, unreliable, and often based on factors beyond our control. People have their own battles, their own priorities, and their own reasons for behaving the way they do. Sometimes their silence has nothing to do with you, yet it is easy to internalize their indifference as proof that you are not enough. Seeking validation from others puts you in a constant cycle of approval and disappointment. When you receive attention, you feel worthy, but when it is absent, you feel invisible. This creates an emotional dependency where your happiness and self-esteem are dictated by external factors. The problem with this cycle is that it is never truly fulfilling. No amount of external validation can replace the need for self-acceptance. It is an illusion to believe that someone else's acknowledgement determines your value. Real confidence, real self-worth comes from within. People will come and go. Some will recognize your value and others will overlook it. Some will celebrate you while others will ignore you. This is simply the nature of human relationships. If you base your worth on external validation, you will always be at the mercy of someone else's perception. But when you start recognizing your own value, independent of others, you free yourself from that emotional dependence. Your worth is not defined by someone's ability to see you. It is not measured by how many people acknowledge you, how much attention you receive, or how many compliments are given. It is not something that fluctuates based on the way others treat you. True worth is knowing that even when no one claps for you, even when no one acknowledges you, even when someone ignores you, you are still valuable. The moment you stop seeking validation from others is the moment you regain control over your happiness. Instead of looking outward for approval, look inward. Find strength in knowing that you are enough as you are. External validation may feel good in the moment, but internal validation is what will sustain you in the long run. Silence is powerful. It speaks volumes, often saying more than words ever could. When someone ignores you, it can feel like a painful rejection, but in reality, it is a message. People show their priorities through their actions, not just their words. When they choose silence, when they refuse to acknowledge your presence, when they make no effort to connect, they are revealing something important. You may no longer belong in that space. At first, this realization is difficult to accept. The natural instinct is to hold on, to try harder, to seek clarity and closure. The mind resists the idea that someone you care about could simply disregard you. You may convince yourself that there is a misunderstanding, that if you just reach out again, things will go back to normal. But often, the more you chase acknowledgement, the more distant they become. The silence becomes more deafening and the message becomes clearer. It is easy to take it personally, to believe that being ignored is a reflection of your inadequacy. However, sometimes silence is not about you at all, it is about them. People change, priorities shift, and relationships evolve. Some people may no longer see the value you bring because they have outgrown the connection, or perhaps you have outgrown them. Either way, their silence is a signal that the space you once occupied in their life is no longer the same. It is not a failure on your part, nor is it something you need to fix. Holding on to places where you are no longer welcome does more harm than good. The more you try to stay in spaces that no longer serve you, the more you diminish your own sense of self-worth. Forcing yourself into conversations where your presence is not acknowledged only drains your energy. Clinging to relationships where you are not valued only creates more pain. Instead of fighting the silence, learn to listen to what it is telling you. Silence often precedes growth. It is the space between who you were and who you are becoming. It is the void that allows you to reflect, to reassess your connections, and to redirect your energy toward those who truly appreciate you. It teaches you that belonging is not about forcing yourself into places that no longer embrace you. It is about finding spaces where you are naturally valued. The people who genuinely care will never make you feel invisible. They will make an effort. They will communicate. They will acknowledge your presence even in the smallest ways. When someone ignores you, they are showing you that their path is no longer aligned with yours. Instead of mourning what is lost, recognize it as an opportunity to step into a new chapter. The absence of acknowledgement from one person does not mean you are unworthy. It means that it is time to find where you truly belong. When someone ignores you, it can feel like a rejection, but it is also an opportunity to turn inward and listen to yourself. Too often, people seek external validation to feel worthy, constantly looking for approval and reassurance from others. When that attention is withheld, it can feel unsettling, but it is also a reminder that your energy should not be spent chasing people who do not see your value. Instead, it is a chance to redirect your focus toward yourself and those who genuinely appreciate your presence. Being ignored creates silence, and in that silence, you have a choice. You can either fill it with self-doubt, overanalyzing every interaction and wondering why someone is distant, or you can use it as a moment to reconnect with yourself. The absence of external noise gives you the space to reflect on what truly matters. It allows you to evaluate the relationships in your life and recognize where your energy is being drained instead of replenished. When you stop fixating on the people who ignore you, you begin to notice those who have always been there. the ones who check in, who value your presence, who celebrate you without needing to be asked. Sometimes, in the pursuit of acknowledgement from the wrong people, you overlook the ones who already see your worth. Redirecting your energy means shifting your focus away from those who make you feel invisible and toward those who uplift and support you. Silence is not always a punishment, it can be a gift. It allows you to slow down, to listen to your own thoughts, and to understand your emotions without outside influence. When someone ignores you, instead of chasing after their attention, use the time to work on yourself. Engage in activities that bring you joy, surround yourself with people who genuinely appreciate you, and invest in your personal growth. The more you focus on your own journey, the less power someone else's indifference has over you. Redirecting your energy also means setting boundaries. If someone continuously ignores you, it is a sign that your time and attention are better spent elsewhere. It is not your responsibility to force someone to acknowledge you or to prove your worth to them. Respect yourself enough to walk away from situations where you are not valued. Your energy is precious and it should be given to those who see and appreciate it, not wasted on those who choose to overlook it. Letting go of the need for validation from those who ignore you is an act of self-love. It is choosing to invest in yourself rather than waiting for someone else to recognize your value. The more you focus on yourself, the stronger you become, and the less affected you are by the actions of others. You are not meant to be in spaces where you feel invisible. Your energy is meant to be nurtured, appreciated, and reciprocated by those who truly value you. Recognizing your own worth is one of the most powerful realizations you can have. Many people go through life seeking validation from others, hoping that someone will acknowledge their value and give them a sense of importance. However, the moment you realize that your worth is not dependent on how others treat you, you take back control over your own happiness. You no longer feel the need to chase after people who ignore you, nor do you waste your energy trying to prove yourself to those who do not see you. Instead, you stand firm in the knowledge that you are enough, just as you are. When someone ignores you, it can trigger feelings of rejection, making you question your importance. You may wonder why they do not acknowledge you, why they do not see the value you bring, or why they choose to be distant. But the truth is, another person's recognition of your worth is not what makes you valuable. Your value exists regardless of whether someone else acknowledges it or not. The sun does not stop shining just because someone chooses to close their curtains. Likewise, your worth does not diminish just because someone refuses to see it. People who truly appreciate you will never make you feel like you have to earn their attention. They will value your presence without you having to beg for it. If someone consistently ignores you, it is a sign that they are not meant to be a part of your journey. The more you chase after people who do not recognize your worth, the more you neglect yourself in the process. Instead of seeking external validation, focus on building a strong sense of self-worth that is unshakable. When you know your own value, you no longer allow yourself to be affected by the actions or inactions of others. Self-worth comes from within. It is built by how you see yourself, how you treat yourself, and the standards you set for your life. It means refusing to settle for less than you deserve, refusing to tolerate disrespect, and refusing to give your energy to those who do not appreciate it. When you truly understand your worth, you naturally start attracting people who align with your energy, those who see, respect, and cherish you without conditions. No one else has the power to determine your value. It is not something that fluctuates based on the opinions of others. It is constant, unchanging, and independent of external circumstances. The moment you recognize this, you stop allowing other people's treatment of you to dictate how you feel about yourself. You realize that you do not need to prove anything to anyone. You do not need to chase people for attention. You do not need to be validated by those who fail to see you. Instead, you walk away from spaces where you feel unappreciated and move toward places where you are celebrated.